We are in such an urgent time. The world is on fire. There is a reckoning that is coming for the generations to come. They're going to look at us and say, what did you do? What did you do to protect me?
Near the northern edge of America, before the sun meets the sky, there are whispers of war.
We're almost there.
A battle over oil and water. A massive pipeline, Line 3, owned by a Canadian oil company, snaking through the delicate water of indigenous in northern Minnesota.
If there's a spill here, anywhere near here, it's going to affect all of those rice lakes.
Its cargo, what's called tar sands, a fossil fuel used in products from gasoline to plastics, and often described as the world's dirtiest oil. Supporters call it a much-needed replacement.
It's the safest way to transport fossil fuels.
Critics warn it's an environmental disaster waiting to happen.
Climate scientists say, leave the tar sands in the ground. Full stop.
And at the tip of this climate spear, local indigenous women.
Who do you serve?
For them, this is not political. It's personal. Home, family, life.
Our job was to hold the project off as long as possible.
Is there ever a point where we start to look around and open up our eyes and say, enough?
President Biden, where you at?
So just take a right, go down a little bit, and then turn right.
Over the past few months, ABC News obtained rare access to the front lines of this conflict.
We're about to enter a pipeline resistance camp to talk to one of their leaders. No drugs, alcohol, no weapons, no law enforcement. Drive this way?
Yep, straight up the road. Welcome to Nemaywag.
Camp Nemaywag is one of several pipeline opposition camps along the Line 3 route. It's led by one of the movement's many indigenous matriarchs, Tara Hauska.
I'm from a small town in northern Minnesota. I grew up on the lake, in the woods. The land is in my heart. As an Ojibwe person, it is my obligation as a woman to keep the water, to protect the water.
She had a different line of work before choosing to live in the woods.
You are a lawyer. So isn't there a different way to go about this to get this done?
I was out in Washington, D.C., had internships in the White House under the Obama administration, was part of the 2016 Bernie Sanders run.
As the kids would say, you have receipts.
Yeah.
You participate in the process.
But what I observed over time was a process that was so incremental.
Code red for humanity.
Historic floods and tornadoes, drought conditions impacting 60 million Americans.
We're at this point in human history, and there are already climate migrations happening and seas are rising. Is there ever a point where we start to look around and open up our eyes and say, enough?
So she came back home, back to Minnesota, where she's up against her latest opponent, the Line 3 pipeline. Approved by both Minnesota and federal authorities, it transports tar sands from Canada to Lake Superior. The company, Enbridge, describes it as a modernization and safety-driven replacement project for an aging line first put in during the 1960s.
I think we're just about ready.
Mike Fernandez is the chief communications officer for Enbridge.
You call it, and the company has referred to this as a replacement project, but others call it an expansion project.
Yeah, the only thing that has happened here isn't that there's more pipeline. What has happened is we've restored to the original capacity levels.
The new version will have more than double its operating capacity, and that more than 1/3 of the route is entirely new. Is that true?
There are new boundaries in certain places. And a lot of those new boundaries were defined by tribal communities themselves, as well as input from environmentalists.
This is not a replacement project. It's a bigger pipe. It's a different route. It's a new pipeline.
Laura Triplett is an environmental scientist who testified against Line 3 during the permitting process. She's one of a chorus of scientists urging a moratorium on tar sands growth entirely.
Tar sands oil burns dirty, has high carbon emissions per energy produced, and also takes a lot of energy to pump through the pipe because it's thick and sludgy and heavy. There are roadmaps for how we can transition to a lower carbon emissions economy. But building a brand new big pipeline to bring tar sands oil to market, that's not part of any transition. That's terrifying.
3 Minnesota tribes sued to stop Line 3. But as construction moved forward,
That's what we're doing here.
Tara and others in the movement saw themselves as the last line of defense, launching what they call direct actions.
Direct actions are moments where we are using our bodies to stand in front of the machines.
As the pipeline nears completion, Tara and her team on this day bringing a van, packed and weighed down with concrete. Their goal, block the entrance to an Enbridge facility and stop construction.
Somebody help me! Quick, come on, come on!
Get over side, yep, it's right here.
Water is life!
There was definitely a lot of adrenaline.
Careful. Love you, water protector!
We shouldn't have to do this to protect the water, to protect our people.
I was locked down to the van for 9 hours that day. You gotta put yourself in a different spot mentally. Because, you know, as the saws and the drills and, you know, the hammers are going at it, you know, right by your hand, if you start focusing on that, it starts getting traumatizing. We stopped over 200 workers from reporting to their shift that day.
It's beautiful, it's powerful, it's sad, it's scary. It's all the things at once.
I've lived here basically my whole life. Loved growing up here. Grew up having respect for the land.
Some tribal members have welcomed the Line 3 project.
Here we are.
Like Rob Abramowski from the Fond du Lac Band. Rob's worked on Enbridge projects for years, including Line 3.
We're a little bit south of the reservation on Spread 5. My reservation came to an agreement with Enbridge, which I thought was a good decision. Couldn't have been an easy one because of pipelines being so controversial now.
Of the nearly 4,000 temporary workers Enbridge hired to work on Line 3, Abramowski is one of the roughly 500 Native Americans employed on the Line 3 project.
Native people, the experience that they're gaining here today, they can carry that as far as they want.
I hear you that you support the line. Yes, you think it is a necessary evil. Fair?
Yes, absolutely.
But I don't hear like a full-throated endorsement of it.
Well, I mean, who really wants, right, pipelines near their area? But it's a reality. We are all consumers, and everything we do all relates to petroleum in some way or another, right? Why not make it as safe as possible?
But it's also Enbridge's past that concerns critics. Enbridge pipelines resulted in 2 of the largest inland oil spills in U.S. history. Grand Rapids, Minnesota, 1991, and Kalamazoo, Michigan, in 2010.
So how do you get people to say, we failed you then, but trust us now?
Yeah, so part of it is, you know, what did you do after the incident, right? And what we did is we spent $5 million making sure that things were safe. We also cleaned up the site. It was a big wake-up call for us as a company.
And there have been issues during the construction of Line 3. The critics say has already damaged nearby wetlands.
Is it true that the company paid a $3 million fine for illegally piercing an aquifer during construction of Line 3?
So what has happened is, again, in this process, we were drilling, we found the problem, we took the problem to the State Department of Natural Resources. They assessed a fine, and we're going to pay it.
So the answer is yes.
Yes.
We came here through prophecy to find the food that grows on water.
For generations, indigenous people like Tasha Martineau have harvested wild rice along lakes they say will be threatened by the pipeline.
The rice itself, it kind of symbolizes the resilience of our people. We have to make sure we do our due diligence to protect it so that it can continue to sustain us. You want that one?
Tasha and her 4 children often live at Camp Magizi,
Chongu Nation.
a resistance camp she founded in northeastern Minnesota.
For me, the Line 3 fight was more than just my treaty rights. It was more than just the wild rice. It was a promise that I made to my oldest daughter that I would stop Line 3.
Does anyone need a ride?
I do. Come with me.
It was a decision that would put her at odds with her own tribe, the Fond du Lac Band, which is one of the 2 tribal nations who came to non-public agreements with Enbridge to not oppose the pipeline, reportedly involving money.
So not only are you attempting to save something, save the water, save this beautiful land, but you're also sacrificing something. Family, your tribe. Why sacrifice so much?
I knew that for future generations, somebody had to.
The tribe was reportedly given a difficult choice between allowing the pipeline to cross along its current route or cut through the tribe's valued treaty territories.
The major part is that my reservation leaders have a say in what happens here, not only today, but in the future.
At the end of the day, the way I and many others look at it, when there is a loaded gun held to your head, it doesn't matter who built that gun. When that gun goes off, we're still going to be dead.
With time running out to stop construction,
President Biden, where the are you at?
Tasha's camp prepares to take action. Will it be too late? We'll be right back.
Nightline, oil and water, battle for Line 3 continues. Here again, Byron Pitts.
Is there another car fully ready?
It's just after dawn.
We are heading out today. We're gonna show up and, utilize our voices and our bodies.
Tasha Martineau is leading a resistance to construction on the Enbridge Line 3 pipeline, which crisscrossed through her home, tribal lands of the Fond du Lac Reservation in northern Minnesota.
When we take to the front line, please remember why we are here. We are not here to fight the police. We are not here to intimidate workers. We are here for that water. I personally carry a lot of fear every time an action happens. It's because, I prioritize the safety of all of these amazing, beautiful people who are literally willing to run into battle.
We are here at an Enbridge water pump station. We're blocking the gate. We are stopping this work because we are stopping this pipeline.
You're in violation of Minnesota statute 609-705, unlawful assembly.
Where are they at? What I see is rapists, murderers, killers of Mother Earth here. President Biden, where the are you at? No cops, no prisons, no abolition. But you want to be wearing that uniform and you want to feel like qualified.
The resilience of our people lives within me.
Y'all see this, right? For water! For water!
And it's this community that taught me to stand Fond du Lac strong. Standing for something, that's where our power lies.
Despite one remaining tribal lawsuit, this month the pipeline became operational. Shortly after, Canadian oil shipments to the U.S. jumped to their highest volume this year.
So when you found out it goes online, what was your immediate reaction?
How hard we all fought, but I did think about the disappointment and disgust at Minnesota's lawmakers, at the Biden administration for not intervening.
You know, President Biden, candidate Biden, campaigned on the notion that he would be the climate president.
He absolutely did, and what I've seen is a pattern of climate policy that is reflective of the status quo.
The Biden administration declined our interview request and did not respond to our request for comment.
I sense in this you're burdened by something. What's going on?
We're coming to the end of the fight, and I'm trying to process and accept that the fight isn't over and we didn't lose. I let the fight become me, and now I'm not sure where I fit in a better world, where the warriors are no longer needed.
The women can see they lost this battle, but the war, they insist, is not over.
I think we're that stubborn thorn that just won't go away. We are a new status quo they have to reckon with.
We'll be right back.